Everyone. Welcome back. I am your host, the Brick City Brown Chick, and today we are going to talk about a difficult subject, and difficult from the perspective of this is a topic that nobody really wants to be realistic when they talk about it, but I'm going to be very realistic from my perspective. It is the R word. And in this case, the R word I am referring to is racism. And today's topic is, are all Republicans racist? Now, about 10 years ago, if you had asked me that question, I would have told you yes, absolutely. All Republicans are racist. Because 10 years ago is when our current racist in chief made his political appearance. And he came down an escalator and proclaimed that Mexicans were thugs and rapists. And people cheered. And his popularity grew. And it became more and more disturbing as I watched it unfold. Since that time, we have had all sorts of theories from white people about racism and about things related to racism, such as CRT, critical race theory, is evil. Currently, we're on DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion is wrong and evil and favors people. What? So this country, which is a country of immigrants, no one is native to this country except the Native Americans who were here. Diversity is bad. Equity, which does not mean what most people think it means. Immediately, Republicans want to tell you it means quotas. It means these people are better than these people. That is not what equity is. Equity is ensuring that there is a level playing field for everyone. That is what equity is. And inclusion. What does inclusion mean? It means everyone is welcome and included. So I really don't know how this became the big bad boogeyman, but it has. I've also listened to right wing people say things like, Black people have not contributed to making America great, and that we did your ancestors a favor by bringing them out of the jungle and turning them into quote unquote civilized people. So when you hear things like that over and over and over, you start to really believe that this entire group of people is completely and thoroughly racist. Now, I'm going to talk about an experience from my past with two people I knew in high school, whose names were Lisa and Patty. Lisa was a staunch right conservative at age 14, 15, 16. At that point in time, Ronald Reagan was the president of the United States, and she thought he was wonderful and amazing and was doing great things for the country. Patty was a socialist, and I don't mean the word that Republicans throw around now for Democrats. I mean a true populist socialist. She was Irish. She favored Northern Ireland's independence from Britain. And so she had very strong opinions about what was wrong with America and capitalism and all those things. I was a liberal Democrat. I thought Ronald Reagan was the worst thing to happen to this country since Richard Nixon. He was more subdued about his racism, but make no mistake, Ronald Reagan was racist. He was caught on tape referring to Black people as monkeys. There was no confusion for any Black person about who Ronald Reagan really was. And so the three of us would sit in the cafeteria at lunchtime and argue about politics. Now, you're talking about three teenage girls who were very staunch in their beliefs, very independent, and had no problem saying exactly how they felt. But what I wonder from today's time is, would the three of us have been able to do that now? Outside of discussing politics, the three of us were friends. We did the things that teenage girls did. We went driving in each other's cars when we were old enough to drive. We went to the mall and went shopping. We did all those typical teenage girl things. But when it came to politics, there was nothing the three of us agreed on. Absolutely nothing. But the truth is, we were always respectful to each other. We listened to what the other had to say. We didn't jump in or cut each other off or call each other out our names or do anything crazy like that. And today, that seems a lost art form. I remember hearing a lot after the 2024 election about, could you, as a Democrat, be friends with a person who voted for Trump? And I immediately knew my answer to that was absolutely not. Because that person would be someone who voted only for their own interest, not for the interest of wider America. They voted with the attitude of, I have mine, or I'm going to get mine and screw everybody else. And that is not someone I can be friends with, I can have a conversation with. That just does not work. Now, what I heard from a lot of Republicans in that response was, you people are taking politics personally. And honestly, you're damn right we took it personally. Because what America said to us, to Black people, to brown people, to women, to immigrants, all of us, was, we would rather have an old, convicted felon, a man who was convicted of sexual assault, as president, because he's old and white and he will ensure the status quo. And it was after the election that I finally came to the realization that America will never progress past its racist ideology. That will never happen because too many people, both people in power and people who aspire to power, want to keep the status quo. So if you'd asked me immediately after the election, did I think all Republicans were racist? Absolutely. You'd get no argument from me about that whatsoever. So nowadays, people who are Republican, some of them, are wearing their racism on not only on their sleeve, but out of their mouths. They are starting confrontations with Black people. They are walking up to Black people and calling them the N word. A woman somewhere in the Midwest recently called a 3-year-old Black child the N word. And she started a GoFundMe, and white people gave her hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I am not the person to try to argue that America is not racist and that America doesn't embrace and enjoy its racism. So what does that mean for all of us moving forward? We are still a country for now. We are tied together for now. And we have to figure out a way to get along. And at this point, we not only have to get along, we have to figure out how to work together. And if you're expecting me to have an answer for that, I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I don't. Because I don't know what the path forward is from here. There has been so much hatred and so much vitriol until I don't know if America ever comes back from this. I honestly don't. I have heard over the last couple of months white people on TikTok and Facebook and YouTube talking about how they now regret the vote they cast. But in that, what I am hearing is all of this, what is happening now, was perfectly okay as long as it was going to affect you people. And by you people, I mean people who look like me. People are Black, brown, indigenous, immigrants, women, even white women were okay with this. But now that it's affecting them, it's not okay. And as long as this country has that attitude, we are never going to be able to work together. And we are never going to, as I hear people keep saying, move past this. There is no moving past living in a country that wants to treat you less than just because you are not of the dominant culture. And that is where we are. So back to my original question, do I think all Republicans are racist? I guess not. But if you want me to be honest, what do I think the percentage is? I think it's probably 95%. And 95% is people who are out and out racist, people who are closet racist, people who don't understand that they're racist. And even though that one's a hard one to digest, I know there are people like that. And also people who are unconsciously racist. People who think they're not racist, but the longer you hear them talk, the more you realize that, yep, they're racist too. So I think 9.5 out of 10 Republicans are just straight up racist. And when you're dealing with numbers like that in a country of 320 million people, the way forward is going to be long, dark, ugly, and may not result in the United States being the United States anymore. I've heard people argue that we need to split into two countries. We need to be red states and blue states. And the more I've thought about that, the more I think that might be the ultimate solution. People who believe this way get to live here and govern the way they believe and do what they want. And people who believe this way get to live where they want to live and govern the way they want. And that ultimately may be the best solution for us not tearing ourselves apart, because we really are on the verge of something terrible. There is a really old Southern expression that goes, "A hit dog will holler." And what that means is you can only abuse people for so long before they fight back. And what people fighting back is going to look like right now is anyone's guess. But I don't think it's going to be good. I don't think it's going to be healthy. I don't think it's going to help America become more united. If anything, it's going to fracture us even more. So, what does that mean the rest of us should do in the meantime? What I have been saying to people is, above all else, protect yourself and protect your family, whatever that means to you. I have heard a lot of people give advice to people of color who are American citizens that have said, in addition to having your real ID, which the government is going to require everyone to have those pretty soon, it may be the end of May, the deadline, but also to carry your passport or a copy of your passport so that you have more than one form of ID to prove you were born here and prove you are an American citizen. What is going on right now is not a joke. People are being snatched up off the streets, both non-citizen and citizens, and being shipped off to God knows where. It's not just El Salvador now. We're sending people to Rwanda and other places they have never been, places where they do not speak the language. We are sending them there without access to lawyers or access to their families. This is a critical moment in American history. And we, the American people, are going to have to decide if what is happening is okay, and we're going to go along with both what's happening and its consequences, or if we are going to stand up and say, this is not okay. So, to both my Democratic and my Republican listeners, start thinking about solutions and how we're all going to survive, because we're going to need everybody's ideas, whether we agree with each other or not, because that is the only way we are going to be able to save ourselves and save our republic. I want to thank everyone for listening to me this week. If you are not subscribed to this podcast, there is a subscribe button under my talking head here. Please hit that subscribe button, turn on your notifications so you know when I put out a new episode. I do episodes on a weekly basis, not this past week because it got overtaken by events, which is one of my new favorite phrases. But it's Memorial Day weekend. I'm going to spend quite a bit of time working on the podcast. So I'm hoping to get ahead and not be so behind. So please subscribe to the podcast, and I will see you again next week. Take care.